Hi, it's Christine from the European Startup Association, and I'm here with Hari, who is one of our members, and he was also a speaker at our European Startup Festival in Sweden last year, and he's all about taking care of yourself, well-being, mindfulness, and really taking your business to the next level, really, with these techniques as well. But I'm going to let you introduce yourself, so tell us a bit more about you and what you do.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Christine, or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Yeah, my name's Hari, and I help entrepreneurs and startups feel superhuman. So what do I mean by superhuman? What I mean by that is not necessarily that you can do these superhuman feats like holding your breath for 25 minutes, which is kind of a thing, or doing cartwheels down the street. What I mean by that is that imagine yourself on your best day, and then timesing that by 10 and being able to live like that, 9 days out of 10, 10 days out of 10, rather than just once in a while, because we all have those experiences where once in a while everything's flowing, we feel energized, we've got our productivity going on, our focus, creativity is all working well, but then for the next 3 or 4 days it's not, and then it comes and goes. And so what I mean by superhuman is imagine yourself on your best day and then timesing that by 10 and having that mostly. And so it's my passion really to help entrepreneurs, startups, people with a message and a mission to share to the world, to really find the health, vitality, mindset, resilience, well-being that's going to enable them to do that. And ultimately the energy, because it's all about energy at the end of the day. If you have got this great idea, this great app, or this great solution for the world, but yet you don't have the energy to execute on it, it doesn't matter if you've gone to all the goal setting and strategy sessions in the world, if ultimately you don't have that energy. And it's not just about surviving, it's really about thriving. So if you want to impact the world, it's going to take a lot of dedication, and especially at the beginning, you are your business. You might be a startup of 1 or 2 people, you might be a solopreneur, and if you're not working, then the business isn't working. So that was really the realization that I came to when I started working for myself and became, I wouldn't say like an entrepreneur, but I'd say I was like a freelancer, and I was working for myself in another company, but I was running it through my own business. And I recognized that if I was ill, if I took a sick day, I wasn't going to get paid for that, right? And so I needed to be on point mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so that I could always be at work, and also, because I was a contractor, perform better than the people that are employed, because I needed to add more value to the organization. Because if it came to contract renewal time, they don't have to give you an excuse to let you go. They just say, contract's up, whatever, let you go. So I did all that, and at the same time wanted to do lots of things outside of work, before work and after work. So that's kind of why I do what I do, is that I just saw a lot of people working and just existing and functioning a little bit like zombies, and ultimately there are ways that we can do things differently, so that we can have the energy and the vitality, the enthusiasm, the passion, the focus, the productivity that we want. And not leave things to chance. And so I made it my mission over the last decade to understand what goes into those things, and ultimately come up with various teaching methodologies and frameworks to help people understand the simplicity of it, because it can get really complicated when you dive into this, but ultimately it's pretty simple when you look at the big picture. And yeah, and that's it really.
Yeah, really good points there as well, because everywhere where you work, but especially if you work for yourself or start it yourself, there will be so many moments where you feel so demotivated, deflated, you're low in energy. And I think another thing that can be really dangerous, if you're doing something that you love, be it in a job, which is not so often, but you can find people who really love what they do. But as a startup, usually people start something because they love, or they want to have an impact, or something. Yeah. Really passionate about something. And what can be really dangerous is that you put so much energy in and you do not feel that you want a break because you love it so much what you do.
Absolutely.
And that burns you out slowly, slowly, slowly. I was at that point as well myself, because you never switch off. And even if you're on holiday, if you're on a beach, if you're lying on a pool or going skiing or whatever, a lot of times your brain doesn't switch off, and you don't want to switch off because you feel inspired by new things and new ideas come, and you want to start things, and you know you can make a difference. So for me, it was always really, really important to find something outside of what I do for a living, which I absolutely love, but something outside as a hobby that has nothing to do with it, to switch off the brain a bit from that kind of stuff, and to take care of myself that way by learning a new instrument, learning languages, whatever it is. Still learning, but also sometimes to switch off completely is very important, I think.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, is that when you are an entrepreneur, when you've got your mission, it's the passion and the purpose that is going to drive you forward a lot of the time. And so when I go and do my talks and my programs and stuff, I say to people that you can, because the way I came to the frameworks and the methodologies were three main ways, really. One was like looking at nature, the other one was looking at babies, and the other one was looking at high performing individuals and noticing the patterns and things. And when it comes to high performing individuals, you can be high performing, right? You can be changing the world, right? I look at, say, like Elon Musk, for example, right? He wants to work, he says, look, you know, you want to get there in half the time, you work 80 hours a week, not 40 hours a week. I can guarantee he's going to have, if he doesn't already have, massive health problems, right? You can already see the kind of tiredness in his face and his eyes, all sorts of things. And the thing is that it might take 5 months, it might take 5 years, it might even take 15 or 30 years, but at some point something's going to break if you don't put into place all the factors that go into health and well-being. Well, when I say all the factors, I don't mean all the small, minute factors. I mean that the broad stroke factors that go into it, and there's kind of 4 main components that go into it. But if you can thrive for a certain period of time, just focusing on one small thing, and it could be just that passion or that purpose, and then you're not sleeping that much, and you're not eating well, and you can have amazing energy. But give it 5 years, give it 10 years, you know, something's going to break. And so it's really important, like you say, to have the balance. And this is what my ultimate teaching is all around. It's about balance, but also not to say that you never go off balance, because ultimately you have to be off balance to move forward. And I use the analogy of walking. So walking is effectively controlled falling. Okay. So you're controlling your fall and you're moving forward as you take a step. So it's not to say that you never go off balance, because ultimately we can't always stay in balance. But the thing is the deviation from the balance line is less pronounced. So I presume most of the people are going to be watching this, but if you see if this central line is the line of balance, most people, they kind of go over here, they get their coffee to juice them up in the morning, then they go over here to get their glass of wine or beer to kind of calm them down, and then they have, like, you know, I don't know, a HIIT session to kind of get their exercise in, and then they go for like a kind of a week-long retreat or a detox retreat. You know, they do all this kind of jagged to and fro. And my idea is that you might go off balance, but the idea is you go off deliberately with awareness, so that you know that when you do certain things, it's going to affect you, but you don't kind of have this kind of jagged approach. It's kind of more of a smooth approach, and you know how to get yourself back to balance. So maybe actually the thing calming down is not the alcohol, but maybe it's the, you know, the relaxing classical music or the meditation or whatever it is. Maybe getting you up in the morning is the bright sunshine in the water, not the coffee. You know, there's different ways to kind of do it, so that actually it has maybe a better effect on your mindset and your body. And it's not to say, you know, drinking is bad or drinking coffee is bad or anything like that. It's just, one, do it with awareness. 2, not to be kind of dependent on those things to kind of have those results, because in excess, those things are obviously detrimental for a lot of people. So that's really what it's about. It's about how do you maintain a close line to balance? How do you propel yourself forward and not be, you know, rigid with things, because you get people that will be rigid with their diet, for example, and not allow for any flexibility within that. And then that can be counterproductive as well. So ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about what I'm here to do is empower you to have choice and awareness, to be able to perform at your best the majority of the time. And ultimately, that all comes from personal energy. And, you know, just to give you some background on me, way back in the last millennium, when I finished my university degree, I did a physics and astrophysics degree. And so, you know, the very famous physics equation that everyone knows is E equals mc squared, right? So this is Einstein's equation, talking that energy equals mass, m, and c stands for the speed of light, squared. So basically what that's saying is that everything is can be equated, like the mass of anything has energy within it. So everything ultimately is energy. Is what it's saying. So everything starts with energy, and that's kind of where I am. And if you've got a business and you've got a team of, like, you know, 3 or 4 people, or even 300 people, your most valuable asset, you might think it's your IP, you might think it's your product, but actually it's the people, right? It's the people that create the product, it's the people that create the processes, it's the people that create the profit. So, you know, you need to look after your people, and it starts with the self, because ultimately they're gonna, you know, monkey see, monkey do. So if you try and put all these things into place, but you're not doing it yourself, you know, you're telling your staff to go out for an hour at lunchtime to get some fresh air, which will actually boost their creativity for the evening or for the afternoon session. But then you're sitting at your desk having a sandwich, they're not going to do it, right? So as a leader of an organization, you have to set the standard. And if you're a leader of your own organization and there's just one of you in there, that's fine. You're still leading yourself. And this is what I talk about, self-leadership, because if you want to be the best leader you can, you have to be able to, you know, before you lead other people, is lead yourself. And so, yeah, that's kind of really what I'm all about.
Yeah. No, really good points, and already lots and lots of tips for people. And like you say, yeah, usually people really, and I was like that as well, like, oh, going to the extreme, busy working. Oh, I need to do some exercise, let's do this. Oh, I need to do this. And very rigid routine, which can be good. And if you're working from home, routine is also good, because some people have issues staying motivated, staying focused, staying productive at home, because they have too many distractions and they don't feel like they have to do things maybe. But going from extreme to extreme, like you say, is not really so good. It's more balancing out,
absolutely,
so that you are balanced inside, and that's also what you give outside.
And you do need frameworks. You need structure. I mean, actually, I've just thought, I didn't mention this to you before, but one of the things that helps me with my structure, and, you know, is this thing which I created called the Super Journal. And effectively, I wanted something like which will tell me what I'm doing each day, like, and keep me accountable. And so I developed this because I wanted that. But in the introduction to this, because I created this for myself, and then a lot of people saw it and were like, oh, can you kind of make it for us, sort of thing. So I spent about a bit of time putting about 20 pages together of an introduction of how to do it. But in the introduction to it, I do say, or in the instructions, I say, even though it's got lots of stuff in there, it's not about beating yourself up if sometimes you don't fill in part of it, or you don't do this, or whatever. It's like you've got that framework, but you allow flexibility within the framework. And for me, you know, when I started out, before I even created this, one of the things that gave me structure in my week was my kind of weekly YouTube videos, because then I knew that I was going to release a YouTube video on a Sunday, I was going to write the blog on a Monday, release the blog on the Tuesday, you know, and then I had this thing. And for probably the first 3 or 4 years of doing it, I started doing it in 2013. I was releasing a video a week. And then I was over stressing maybe about that, because even when I was on holiday, I was releasing a video. And so for the last 3 years, it's been a little bit more relaxed. And so it hasn't come out every week. I mean, there's still 250 odd videos on the YouTube channel, but I'm not releasing every single week. But I am releasing because I've already got structure in my day elsewhere, in my week elsewhere, but I've got ideas that I want to share. And so now I'm sharing those ideas, but I'm not not stressing myself out too much with sharing those ideas every single week. But I think in the beginning it was important for me to do that because it gave me the habit and the routine and the structure and the focus. And so that's why I kind of created things like this, because I know that entrepreneurs, they, you can get through the end of the day and you're like, what did I get done? And and everything. So have the framework, have flexibility within the framework.
Yeah, I think it's really good. And flexibility, not only in what you're doing for private or your team, because startups always know they need to be flexible with the market they're dealing with, because the market changes all the time, technology changes. So your product or your service need to change around what's happening in the world. And this should be the same for taking care of yourself and your routine and the team. Flexibility is really important. And like you say, the people, it's not the most valuable thing in a company is not the IP or the product, like you say. It's important, but yes, the people, because if you have a good product but you have a really bad customer service around,
of course,
it's not going to work. If you have people that are not motivated, people can feel that. People will not put effort in. They won't help you to push innovation. They won't innovate. They won't be happy in the end, and you won't be happy. And then you have to let people go and stuff. So keeping the team motivated, looking after yourself, leading the team that way is really important.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you're not well yourself, you're not going to make good decisions, right? If you don't sleep, for example, you lose a lot of glucose that goes to the prefrontal cortex, right, which is your decision-making part of the brain, the executive function of the brain. You lose something like about 14%. So that means that you're not going to make good decisions, which means you're probably going to run people up the wrong way, which means they're probably not going to perform well, and they're going to take it onto their team, and then that's going to take it onto the clients or the customers. It's this cascading of effect, right? But if you are like, centered and energized and calm, but you've got like not an anxious energy, but like a calm, focused energy, if you can make good decisions, if you can relate to people well, your team is going to be much better, and they're going to emulate that and relate to their customers and clients well, and everything is going to work out much, much better. And you're not going to have, then you've got the other things, like, of course, like sick leave and all of that's going to disappear or be massively reduced. But even beyond, the more subtle things like decision making and relating to people, creativity, focus, intuition, ingenuity, all of that stuff is going to increase. And I don't necessarily specifically talk about those things, but all of those things are underlined by your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self, which has to be optimized through kind of the 4 areas that I kind of discovered, if you like, when I was looking into all this stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Probably everyone is asking himself now, where can I get all this kind of information? I mean, I'm going to link back anyway, but the journal that you mentioned, for example, is that downloadable somewhere?
So actually it's not a downloadable product, and there's a reason for that. It's a physical product, but you can order it. And the reason is a bit long-winded why it's not downloadable, it's not online, but ultimately I feel like you get too distracted when you've got things online, and I like to physically have it in front of me, in front of my computer, so it pulls me back to the focus. But
and it's also to write in, no? So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's right, and it becomes a journal. So I've got tons of these now, so I can probably tell you what I was doing, this time 3 years ago or something like that. But this is available. It's kind of like a beta format at the moment, but it's available. I think if you go to thesuperjournal.com, so literally thesuperjournal.com, that will direct you to the page that hosts it, and you can just order it and get it delivered. And then there is, I have developed an online course, which it takes about 8 weeks to get through, but you have lifetime access to it, which is at thethoughtgym.com/super energy. So the thought, as in thinking, the thought gym.
I will make sure I put all these links down in the description anyway.
Yeah, and that takes you through. But if I was to give like 3 tips to increasing your energy, because let's say that fair enough, you don't want the journal, you don't want the online course which goes into details, and I give you 3 tips, I'll do that, because I think it's a good framework. This is like a minor little framework that I created for increasing your energy, not just in the morning but any time of day, which I think is what I do if I'm at my kind of the bare minimum that I need to do. And what I say is, if you want to be like a high performance individual, high performance leader, high performance organization, startup, etc., I want you to imagine a high performance car, and the high performance car I want you to imagine specifically is a BMW. Okay, so a BMW. And the reason for that is because, one, it is a high performance car, all right? It's a very good car. But secondly, because the B, M, and W stand for three things that you can do to focus to bring your more energy, calm, better attention, and productivity to your day. So the first thing, and ideally you're doing this in the morning, but you can do this throughout the day whenever you feel like you need more energy and to maintain your energy. First thing, B, stands for breathing. Okay, so that is taking some structured breathing patterns, and we don't have time to go into the breathing in detail, but that breathing could be meditation, it could be some more intense breathing, like a Wim Hof kind of type breathing, or yoga pranayama breathing, or it could just be like I often do, maybe just a few deep breaths when I'm in the shower, just breathing in through the nose, deep into the belly, inflating the belly, expanding the chest after the belly is expanded, and then breathing out quite vigorously. There are so many different types of breathing pattern, but all I would say is take some kind of structured breathing approach. And during the day, that breathing might be just going for a walk and breathing in some fresh air. So the first thing is think about breathing. The M stands for movement. Okay, so you want to get some movement in your body first thing in the morning. That doesn't have to be a HIIT session or even an hour yoga session. That could be 5 minutes. I often, well, up until it broke a few months ago, and I need to get it repaired, I would spend 15 minutes on like a mini trampoline in the morning, like a little rebounder.
Yeah.
Which actually, for some reason or other, is my most popular video on YouTube of 10 reasons why you want to be rebounding. But getting some movement into the body first thing in the morning and throughout the day, of course, right? Ideally, every 40 minutes, you're getting up from your seat and you're moving around, or at least every hour. And that doesn't, again, have to be for very long. That could just be for 2 to 5 minutes. So first thing, breathing. Second thing, movement. And the last thing is W, which is water. Okay. Most people in my experience are chronically dehydrated. I've got blogs on how to work out your water intake, but ultimately, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should be reaching for is not your phone. It should either be a large glass of water or your significant other. Okay, if you're reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, there's probably something wrong. So you need to be looking at water intake, because you're massively dehydrated when you wake up in the morning. You could lose up to a litre of water overnight just through breathing alone. And often hunger is really thirst in disguise. So always have something to drink. Ideally water, could be hot water, could be non-caffeinated herbal teas. I don't really count caffeinated drinks or carbonated sugary drinks, of course, or fruit juices, although sometimes vegetable smoothie like I've got here can count, but I've also got another large bottle of hot water here that I can pour into my cup. So you've got to have it within arm's reach, otherwise you won't drink it. I'm the same. If I don't have it visually in front of me or within arm's reach, if I take to the stage, I will take my own bottle with me rather than rely on the cups there that they sometimes put for speakers, because it's harder to drink and I'm not going to drink as much. Whereas if I've got my bottle, I know I'm going to drink. So those are those three things: BMW, breathing, movement, water. If all you do, and you don't like invest in the course, invest in any books, invest in doing anything, if all you did was remember BMW for the rest of your life and think that's actually what I need to focus on, you know, throughout the day, you'll be fine.
Yeah, really good. Thank you. That's amazing. And I have to say, I try to keep track of all these three as well, because I got into, after I was close to burnout actually a few years back, I started, okay, I need to do something, because I won't recover properly from a burnout. So let's try to stop before it's happening. And I have to say, breathing is really difficult, because as soon as you say that word, you will start looking at your breath and think, okay, yeah, because a lot of times you just breathe here during the day, especially if you're just typing emails all day. So I try to stop a few times a day to, okay, let's breathe consciously. The movement, I started over a year ago to do just 5 to 10 minutes yoga stretching in the morning to get back into place after lying down for so long. And then with the water, I also find it super difficult to keep track of how much you drink if I don't use a bottle or a big tea. So I don't drink any caffeine. I always have herbal tea. So I made it a routine to have actually a liter of herbal tea in the morning. I have a water bottle, so I know, okay, when this is empty, I had that much to drink. And then I force myself to come to 2 to 3 liters a day minimum. And I already have 1.5 liters in before I even hit lunchtime, because I know I've emptied the bottle and I know I emptied the teapot. So
absolutely, that's the same sort of strategy I have. My kettle takes 2 liters, so I'll fill that up, and I know that I'll have 2 liters of herbal tea. I've got I've got hundreds of different water bottles, but I've got a 1 liter one, a 1.5 liter, I've got a 2.2, and they're all for different things. And obviously, if you're exercising, it's slightly different. Ultimately, I always say, just there is a way to work out your quantity, but ultimately the best way is just to look at your P, right? And you want it to be virtually, but not exactly clear, but like close to being clear. And if it's not, and it's not always the case for me, like if I'm delivering training, like in a school, often I have to do a 2-hour block before I have a break, and because I've got the kids there, I can't really like duck off to the loo and stuff, so I have to manage it. And then I'll find that, you know, 10 minutes before the break, then I'll down loads more water, but then I'll go to the break, my pee is like way more colored in there than I want it to be, and that's not the end of the world. You know, you just then, you know, drink a little bit more. But you know, when you're traveling, or when you're in a car, which actually you do need focus for, the irony is that, you know, you can't stop every 45 minutes to go to the toilet, or an hour, like, because you'll never get to your destination. So it's all about managing that, which takes a bit of practice. But let's assume that you're just at your desk and at an office. And I said before, you want to be getting up every 45 minutes or so, you know, to move 45 minutes, every 40 minutes to an hour. And there's a lot of reasons why that might be the case. But if you're drinking a lot, a question I always get asked is, aren't you going to the toilet a lot? And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a good thing, because then you hit the movement part as well. So you drink a lot, every 45 minutes, an hour or so, you go to the toilet. That's your 5-minute movement break. Maybe go to the toilet on a different floor instead of the one closest to you, right? And then you go back, right? And that's all done, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had the same when I worked from Germany at my mom's, and she was like, "You're going to the toilet all the time." I said, "Yes, but it's good. I'm flattering myself, and I had a lot to drink, so I know I hydrate myself." But anyway, yeah. So super. So I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna order right after the call, actually, the journal.
Super journal. Yeah.
Super journal. I want to have one of these, and I'm looking forward to have you at one of our next events and get involved with you, and you supporting our members and we supporting you.
Yeah, absolutely right. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm sure I'll give you the links and stuff. I'm pretty active on social media, and I'll respond to as many messages as I possibly can.
Yeah, all your details are on our website anyway, but I'm gonna put the links underneath the video anyway on the YouTube. So
cool.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.